first, the biggest story in the NBA. It has shaken up the league in a massive way. Rudy Gay signed with the Golden State Warriors. My Golden State Warriors. Oh, wait, you don't want to hear about that? Okay, well, the second biggest story. No, I'm all jokes aside. Damian Lillard is now a Milwaukee Buck. Earlier today, a little after 2 Eastern, the Milwaukee Bucks completed a 3-team trade that involved the Phoenix Suns and the Portland Trail Blazers. More on Phoenix a little later, but Portland, Phoenix, and the Milwaukee Bucks put together a 3-team trade that sends Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. The other trade details, if you want to know, the Phoenix Suns get Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. Tennessee guy Keon Johnson. Shout out to him. The Blazers get a haul. They get Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tumani Camara, and they get a 2029 first-rounder, as well as a 2028 and 2030 first-round swap rights with Milwaukee. The picks are unprotected. So Portland gets a haul for Damian Lillard in this 3-team trade. So let's start first and foremost with the Milwaukee Bucks. Today, they are undeniably the favorites to win the NBA championship in 2024. They're not overwhelming favorites like my Warriors were in 2017 or like the Bulls were in pick a year, 96, 97, 98. Not a situation like that. They're not an unbeatable roster where you'd have, obviously, knock on wood, injuries that would have to hold them back from doing so. But this is the best team in the National Basketball Association. What have we said about Milwaukee? The one flaw of the Bucks, even the year they won the championship, what has been the one flaw of the Bucks? We're like, God, they just had that. Whether it be from Giannis or even Chris Middleton, consistently from Middleton, is, man, when things aren't going that well, they need a guy to just give me the ball, let me go get a shot. Giannis can, but it almost always has to be in the paint. And obviously now, and I shouldn't say now, you've never really been able to trust Giannis at the free throw line. We saw what happened in that Game 5 when he went, I think it was 10 for 23 against the Miami Heat, really cost them that Game 5 and a chance to extend that series, getting gentlemen swept. You look at, too, Chris Middleton, right? Chris Middleton's a guy who, at his best, has made all-star games, but he struggled with injuries the last few years, and we've always said, okay, if Chris Middleton's your number one option in terms of getting your own shot, you probably need an upgrade. They got that. And then some. Dame Lillard's a guy who had probably the best season of his career last year. Averaged 32 points a game. Very efficient. But again, was playing on a Portland Trail Blazers team that was never really in the playoff discussion, to the point where with about a month left in the regular season, they say, you know what, Dame, we'll just go and sit you for the rest of the year. We don't want to get you hurt in case we do trade you. So Dame, they sat him for the year. He has obviously played his last game as a Blazer. Officially, he's now a Milwaukee Buck. So for Damian Lillard, though, because we'd heard the reports. I haven't talked a ton of Dame in the last month or so, because my thing is, I'm not going to talk about Dame until a deal gets done, because all it is at this point is just speculation. Now that it's official, I'll talk about Dame, who we heard wanted to go to Miami and said, I'm not going to go. If you trade me anywhere else, talking to the Portland Trail Blazers here, I want to play for Miami. No one else want to play for Miami. And there was reports that the Raptors were in discussions with the Bucks, which thank God he didn't end up in Toronto. Nothing against that city. Great fans, great city. But that's not a contender, and we want to see Damian Lillard play in a contender. And obviously the Bucks are that, with or without Dame. We heard the Boston Celtics were in discussions with Portland to potentially get Dame, although those kind of stalled. They didn't last too long. Now it's Milwaukee, who, and I love this, and I guess I'll get to the Giannis part in a second that I love, but for Dame now, he gets to do for the first time in his career, this is now year 12 for Damian Lillard, drafted in 2012 out of Weber State. First year of his career that Dame has been able to say, I can now compete for championships. There was never, be honest with yourself, Portland fans, NBA fans, Dame fans like myself, there was never one year in that Damian Lillard era in Portland when we thought they could legit go to the finals, they could win it. I remember Charles Barkley one year predicted them to go to the finals. Charles Barkley said some crazy stuff, and that's why we love Chuck, but that was never realistic. When you're running up against the Golden State Warriors, or in 2020, the LA Lakers, and then you get to a point come 2021 where Denver's better, Golden State's better, Lakers better, Phoenix better. You lose C.J. McCollum in a trade. They're bringing a lot of young pieces. That team was never going to compete. Really, the shocking factor is that it took as long as it did in terms of the last few years. It took as long as it did for Damian Lillard. I remember doing segments on Dame potentially getting traded out of Portland back in 2021. We're now going into 23-24 season. Dame is now finally, I shouldn't say finally out of Portland because it's a good organization. He just couldn't compete for championships there. What I love, though, and love for Milwaukee, and love for Giannis. I did a segment about this a month ago. Remember when Giannis Antetokounmpo was doing some of these media appearances? And Giannis isn't a guy who, he's great with the media. We see the dad jokes after every Bucks win, which are great. But Giannis isn't a guy who's like this big attention seeker, so to speak. He's no Kawhi Leonard, but he's also no LeBron James or Steph Curry. He's not running to the media, so to speak. Not to say it's a knock on those guys if they are. It's just not necessarily in his personality, in his DNA. He doesn't work out with other NBA players unless they're his teammates. But Giannis goes to the organization. Giannis goes to the Milwaukee Bucks. Or not, goes to the Milwaukee Bucks and says publicly, says to the media, if the organization isn't going to put the pieces around me, if the organization doesn't show me that we're all in on winning titles while I'm here, I may have to start looking at other options. Remember, he did the exact same thing back in 2020. The Bucks, ironically, got gentlemen swept. Ironically, Giannis was hurt at one point in the series by the Miami Heat. Giannis goes to the organization, and he doesn't quite sign the extension. He's not ready to. And they go out and get Drew Holiday, who's now obviously in Portland now. We assume the Blazers are going to move him. They get Drew Holiday, and they win the championship in 2021. Drew Holiday was a critical part of that Bucks title run. Now, the discussion's, hey, how about 2025? Giannis could be a free agent then. Could we have like a Kevin Durant in 2016 or a LeBron in 2010 situation where we've got an awesome player, MVP, in his prime on the open market for anybody to get? And he says, if you're not going to put the pieces around me, then I'm not going to go. I'm probably going to get out of here. Maybe the Knicks, maybe the Warriors, maybe some other team out there that I'm not mentioning. I heard Miami even floated potentially as well. And Milwaukee's like, heck no, we're not going to make the same mistake with you that Cleveland made with LeBron and what Oklahoma City made with Durant. We're going to go get you Damian Lillard. There's a star. Sorry, I apologize, Dame. A superstar that's on the trade block. The organization's looking to move him. They don't like Miami's trade package. Well, let's swoop in, save the day, go grab Damian Lillard, and in the process, undeniably put us certainly a spot above Miami, certainly at the top of the Eastern Conference, and as far as I'm concerned, atop the league. That's not to say they're unbeatable. That's not to say that a Boston or somebody else, out west, a Denver, a Lakers, a Warriors could come in out of nowhere and beat them in a 7-game series. Of course they can. They're absolutely more than capable of doing that. But you now look at Milwaukee Bucks team. Giannis, unquestioned best player, in my opinion, third best player in the world. Worst case scenario. Damian Lillard is still a top 10 player. I mean, man averaged 32 points a game. He's outstanding. He's been doing this forever. Dame's still great. Chris Middleton now is your 3. Not necessarily playing the 3, although he potentially may. But Chris Middleton's now your third option, which is different from the title run in 2021. You got Brook Lopez size. You've got Bobby Portis size. They've got shooters. They've got, in my view, they upgraded at head coach. The formula's there. Size, shooting, defense. You say, well, what about Drew Holiday? Drew Holiday is potentially the best guard defender in the NBA with respect to guys like Marcus Smart. He is, and you guys know I love Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday at his best is an all-star. He's one of the best two-way players in basketball. Matter of fact, maybe the biggest play of that final series, remember Drew Holiday taking the ball to Devin Booker's hands and the lob to Giannis? It's kind of like the flashpoint play from that series against Phoenix. Drew Holiday was so valuable, and I get this is one series, but Drew Holiday was so valuable to the Milwaukee Bucks last year in the playoffs. Miami never scored less than 119 points. And we didn't exactly view, wasn't our criticism of Miami as, man, they play hard, they're good defensively, they're well coached. God, they just can't make enough shots. They never scored less than 119 points a game. All right, and never scored less than 119 points in that 5-game series against Milwaukee. Drew Holiday was on the floor for that series, got cooked. The whole Bucks team got cooked. So I don't think it's a situation where Drew Holiday is the missing piece necessarily, at least as currently constituted, as currently constructed, to them going on another title run. Damian Lillard is. This is a game changer. This is now the best duo in the NBA. This is better than LeBron and AD. This is better than KD and Book. That's the best duo in the NBA. That's the best team in the NBA. I think they're well coached. They play in a conference that, where you look at Boston, I really like Boston this year. I thought they upgraded at the assistant coach who could potentially become the head coach in Sam Cassell, but we'll see how that plays out. Do we really buy in Philadelphia, though? I mean, isn't it kind of total chaos over there? Do we really buy at the Knicks as a title contender? Playoff team, sure. Title contender. Miami's going to be there because they're Miami, but doesn't there seem like there's a pretty significant talent gap? Sure, it might have seemed that way in the playoffs last year, but now you had Damian Lillard, the guy who Miami wanted. That kind of tips the scales just a little bit. So props to the Milwaukee Bucks for making this move. To me, again, I think they're the best team in the East, the best team in the NBA, and then this was a remarkable deal for them. I mean, I'm actually sitting. I happen to be sitting in English class, and I've got my Apple Watch on, and my watch just keeps going off. I'm like, what is going on right now? So I check my watch. I'm like, holy crap! What? I didn't blurt that out loud, thank God. But that's what I'm thinking inside, and so. Surprising deal. We'd heard rumors, little rumblings that maybe they're in contact with the Milwaukee Bucks. The Blazers were at least. So yeah, props to them for making this deal. Here's where, before I get to Phoenix, let me talk about Portland briefly. So Portland gets Holiday, who they're going to move because his contract's going to expire relatively soon. And apparently Miami's interested in Drew Holiday. Philadelphia's interested in Drew Holiday. He's going to have plenty of suitors. Okay, he's an incredibly valuable player to a team. It's just, listen, Milwaukee had to give him up in order to get Dame. It's worth that price. But, again, Portland gets Drew Holiday. I'm not sure quite how long Drew Holiday's going to be there. Maybe he's traded before the season. Maybe he's traded mid-season. But good veteran leader if he is there. But, again, I assume he's going to be elsewhere on a contender. DeAndre Ayton, well, they've got a big, kind of a developmental piece. Now, it's weird to say that given that he's going into year 6, but he needed a change of scenery. You kind of understand that from an emotional perspective with him. Hopefully, Portland provides that. Hopefully, Chauncey Billups provides that for him. So I think that'll be good for DeAndre and good for the Portland Trailblazers. They get another bench player. They get a bunch of first-round picks. So they're good there. So I think solid move. Again, Portland wasn't going to get a king's ransom necessarily. We got to stop. We talk about these mock NBA trades. The Rudy Gobert thing, that's an outlier. Like that. What? Not to make fun of the Timberwolves today, but they're kind of like the Cleveland Browns of the NBA. They're a very easy organization to make fun of. Minnesota making that move and giving up 4 picks for Rudy Gobert, that's not the norm. Okay, that doesn't happen. That's the very reason KD didn't get traded last offseason, that he got traded mid-season. Like that's not the norm in the NBA. So we got to stop assuming that. Other organizations aren't going to make moves to mirror the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're trying to mirror Miami and Milwaukee and Golden State. Okay, they're not worried about the irrelevant Timberwolves. Okay, that's why Anthony Edwards is going to leave. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.